John is one of the most common first names in a large number of places in the world. Until the second half of the 20th century, it was the most common male name. So it shouldn't be surprising that there are also a large number of saints called John. John the Silent, John of Egypt, John the Merciful, John the wonder-working unmercenary who healed the sick free of charge with his mate Saint Cyrus, John the Evangelist, who was probably the same person as John the Apostle, disputed author of the Gospel of John and the Book of Revelations. This John, or these Johns, stayed with Jesus all the while he was being crucified and looked after his mum, Mary, after his death and subsequent resurrection. St. John began following Jesus after he was pointed out to him by his previous mentor, John the Baptist, the other major saint called John. John the Baptist baptised Jesus in the River Jordan, or not in the river but in a spring nearby. John is considered a prophet across many faiths, one of his prophecies being the arrival of Jesus. If we go by the pub sign at the entrance to St. John's Path, it is this John this passage is named for. He's the one that got his head cut off and presented on a platter at the feast where Salome did her sexy dancing for her stepdad, Herod Antipas. Although St. Peter, the name of the brewery, was a mate of the other John, John the Evangelist. After he was beheaded, or decollated as some refer to it, his head was buried in a dung heap, secretly dug up and reburied in an olive grove, discovered conveniently by a monk who was digging the foundations of a church. He left it under the church for fear of people nicking it. It was dug up again after the church had crumbled to ruins by another couple of monks, who found it due to John the Baptist appearing to them in a vision and telling them to dig him up. They popped him in a sack and then got a potter to carry it for them. John wasn't impressed by this laziness and appeared in a vision to the potter and told him to take it home with him instead. This chap put it in a pot. Why not? He was a potter after all, and gave it to his sister. At some point, she passed it on to yet another monk, who buried it in a cave. Eventually, a monastery was built over the cave and the head. Another monk, another vision, another digging up. Taken to Syria, to Constantinople, buried again in what is now a ruined village in Turkey during a period of iconoclasm in the 820s. Another vision, this time to Saint Ignatius, and the head went back to Constantinople. There is much disagreement among places of worship as to who now has the head of John the Baptist, and many of his right hands and fingers, the hands he baptised Jesus with, can also be found all over the world.